Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about girl defined. Now that's a topic that I haven't talked about in quite a while, and more specifically than girl defined, we are going to be talking about one of the sisters, Bethany. It came to my attention via Twitter, via a tweet that Jay Aubrey made actually. And I had genuinely forgotten about Girl Defined, and I kind of wanted to talk about an aspect of Bethany's posts on social media that are, I don't want to say necessarily worrying, but I find bizarre, strange. I just don't understand, and it has nothing to do with religion. So we're going to get into that in a second. But before we do that, I did want to thank today's sponsor, which is Vessi. Vessi makes 100% waterproof shoes out of a dual climate knit material named Dymatex. This material ensures that you remain cool in the summer and hot in the winter. I live in the desert climate, therefore Vessi, keeping my feet cool and comfortable as I go out, whether it's running errands or I'm just chilling in my backyard, is super important. Though they're waterproof, they're also very breathable, which makes them great for hot weather. The new Everyday Move shoes have launched in September, and they're designed with enhanced breathability and added support. Perfect for days where you're going for a sportier look. They're also sustainably made and use no animal products. These are the types of sneakers that you pack when you travel because no matter where you go and what you do, these shoes will have you covered. Though my Vessi shoes are always comfortable, I'm super excited about the color as it's very on trend right now and absolutely lovely generally. I've been loving wearing these out, even just to go shopping or running errands. Check them out at the link below and use code READYTOGLARE to get $25 off your Vessi shoes. Thank you, Vessi, for sponsoring this video. So basically, there are two main posts by Bethany that I find concerning generally. So this is the first one. Also, I have to take off sound because copyright and all that. When I first saw this video, I was just kind of confused because if you say you laid eyes on each other for the first time X years ago, that to me says you noticed each other. Does that mean that you fell in love? Does that mean that some big monumental thing was happening? No, but I also think it's contradictory to say that you just never noticed each other, even though you literally noticed each other. Then on top of that, having him coming over to the house all the time and you still didn't think anything, that's fine because of course sometimes you'll see people over and over again and then there's a moment where you're like, oh, I'm attracted to this person, whatever the hell this story is. But this whole thing seems contradictory to me because it's like we laid eyes on each other. He was at my house all the time, but we never thought anything until suddenly something clicked. And like I said, that's possible, but the way in which this story is told is, in my opinion, contradictory. Aside from that, there's the little elephant in the room of she was 22 and he was 16. So you shouldn't be noticing anyone at that time. You're an adult. You might be in college. This person is still in high school. It's weird to me. And I think it's also strange because we know full well that if this had been a man and a woman, there would be a lot of critique. And in her comments, there is a lot of critique being like, this was like a full-ass child. So why are you portraying it in a certain kind of romanticized way when it's not romantic? It's illegal in some places. I don't know. I find it very strange how all of this is framed. And I mean, obviously, when they got together or when they got married, allegedly, of course, all of that was legal. But it still is very weird, in my opinion, to frame this as some like fun little romantic story. But that's just my opinion. I find it very weird when people are not hyper fixated, but are very focused on the age or age gap between themselves and their partner. In the sense of, it's one thing to say, hey, I met my partner when I was 25 and he was 32. That's one thing to say. But it's also a different thing to hyperfixate and make it kind of like a personality trait to be like, oh, our age gap because we met at this, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? State a fact versus turning it into a integral part of your relationship. Based on what I just said about turning it into a personality trait or turning it into a bigger thing than it has to be, then there's this. So once more, I couldn't play the audio due to copyright, but the audio says something along the lines of older people things, stereotypically like, oh, I woke up and my knee hurts, I haven't slept well, my eye looks tired this morning. Just things that stereotypically older people might say, right? And again, in the footage, you can see that there's this focus on the fact that she's in her 30s and he's still in her 20s, and this somehow is relatable or funny or whatever. And granted, there's nothing wrong that she's in her 30s and he's in her 20s, though the way in which they met is questionable to say the least. But the focus on, hey, we have this age gap, hey, isn't this so funny and relatable that we have these big differences? I don't know. It's strange to me because if there were one sole Instagram clip or video, whatever the hell it is, it would be like, oh, okay, it's a joke, whatever. But the continuous focus on that is weird, in my opinion, especially because one of those clips, as a caption under it on Instagram, says, "Never say never, anyone else married to a younger man and loving it." And again, I just don't understand what the hyperfixation is with being married to a younger man is. It seems weird to me to continuously point it out. For example, my husband and myself have an age gap of like 3 years. It is what it is. But if I were constantly being like, oh, isn't it great that we have a 3-year difference? Don't you love being married to someone who has a 3-year difference? Don't you think it's the best to have a 3? At one point, you're just kind of like, who cares? Like, genuinely, who cares? Why is this a big deal? And it starts feeling like you are fetishizing or sexualizing the idea of having a younger partner, which becomes more concerning when we go back to the beginning of all of this, where she was 22 and he was 16 when they first laid eyes on each other. And then you start to wonder, well, is this happenstance that, you just happened to fall in love 7 years later, blah, blah, blah? Or was this something you were seeking out? Which is why I think most people were concerned, because it seemed like there was a fixation there rather than, sometimes you happen to like someone with an age gap. Obviously, that age gap needs to be legal, but you know what I mean? It just seems questionable, to say the least. Uncomfortable, at least in my opinion. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.